Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Jimmy Butler has spread his cancer all over the Heat, and he has ruined their season. I do believe they'll never recover from this disastrous guy that is, purged on him. I mean, he's ruined. Like, they don't matter anymore at all. Like, I watched them play last night. They suck.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
You know, they have a lot of hopes, and they thought last year they were turning the corner. Even early this year, they start turning the corner, and then you lose 13 games in a row.
Edmonton chipped away, got a late goal, won the game 4-3. I felt like they dominated the third period. They moved the puck on that power play. It was an exceptional hockey game. It went over the total.
Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome to hour number 2, live right here on a Wednesday morning on the early line on SportsGrid. He is Donnie right side. I am Ben Stevens. 11 days away from Super Bowl 59 in the Big Easy. That is New Orleans. We will start to look at the game here in hour number 2. Playing a game. What is more likely with some plus money prices, either in the alternate market or in the Super Bowl 59 specials market. Making match bets out of numbers here in hour 2. Those all available on the FanDuel Sportsbook. We'll hear from our guy, Mark Zinno. He'll say something today on this Wednesday. I'll shake my head in disagreement. He'll make it a big statement, and Donnie will salute his act of courage throughout this second hour. I believe we talked to Keith Stewart here in hour number 2, or maybe hour number 3, for some golfing headlines as well. Donnie tapped into TGL. He is fired up. I mean, what more could you want over these next 2 hours on a Wednesday on the early line?
Exactly. We got to ask questions like, what are you doing with a wine glass cutting ravioli, Scotty Scheffler? So there's some of the interesting things where these guys are finally getting back and playing major golf at a beautiful golf course. But also, we were just talking about the uniforms, Ben, like being the uniform police. Like, I look at the logo in the Super Bowl. I don't know if the fashion police. I don't really know if I like the logo itself, like the red colors with the swirls through there.
Yeah.
It blends too much with the Chiefs uniform. I don't like it too much. I don't really like it.
Voodoo, right? It's like a voodoo bayou theme to it. Yeah. Not exactly the fleur-de-lis, but that kind of thing. Yeah. Of course, with the Cajun principles. You know what's really starting to get on my nerves? This is going to be like a real, like, old man yells at cloud thing. The conspiracy that the team colors or the colors within a Super Bowl logo represent who is playing in said Super. That's not even green. That might be lime. But that's not that's not even Kelly green. That's not midnight green whatsoever. Yeah. It's just like we're really trying to go for it, right? It's not even like a funny bit anymore, though. Maybe in like Super Bowl 56 and 57. All right, I mean, it's not even close now.
Yeah. And by the way, the other thing, Ben, that we haven't talked about yet, maybe the handicaps are going to come in with 11 days. The Kick of Destiny 3 between the Manning brothers from the FanDuel Sportsbook. Now, here's what I want to bring up, too, because
Hey, yo.
They spent a lot of money
Easy
on
now.
this stuff. Hold on. But when they just flipped to a commercial that was like 15 seconds long and you couldn't tell if he made it or missed it, I mean, come on, man. Like, we can't get it live on the field for like 15 seconds. Like, why can't we do that in the Super Bowl?
So you got to tell me how last year went. I was in Mexico watching Super Bowl 58 between the Niners and the Chiefs. I don't remember seeing the FanDuel Kick of Destiny for a second year with Rob Gronkowski. Was it a better overall television production? We saw it though?
No, but I think we did see it, but I'm a little bit confused on the 2 years because one was like, I know they filmed it like the day before or 2 days before, and you couldn't tell if he made it, but I can't actually remember which one was last year. Did they do it live like before the game last year? I want to say they might have done that. I'm not sure though.
Joe Frizo, producer extraordinaire. Maybe a commercial. I know it felt like it was right before halftime 2 years ago. That was the first year of it. I distinctly remember because in Phoenix at the FanDuel party, they had the setup to kind of build the excitement in the atmosphere for Gronkowski's Kick of Destiny. That was the first year. And this is Kick of Destiny 3. So, yes, it is. Peyton Manning, Eli Manning. I will say, listen, we love the FanDuel Sportsbook, right? Check the logo in the bottom left corner. Beautiful sportsbook, my favorite sportsbook. Love our sponsorship here. Hope it continues for many years to come. What I will say, though, DRS, I do love the commercial with Eli. I know some people think Peyton and Eli are too much, that they're not actually all that funny. But Eli Manning being like I always wanted to be a kicker, and then old school Peyton comes to the field and say, shut up, Eli. You have to be a quarterback like me and Dad. I kind of think it's funny.
It is funny. But by the way, you want to put, look, I like to be commissioners. You want to put me in charge of the FanDuel Sportsbook, Ben? 10 people get $1 million a piece to bet with. How about that?
10 people?
Yes.
You choose
$10 million
10 people randomly?
10 people randomly get chosen, like live during that 30-second commercial. You know, it pops up like, you probably don't remember, and Ben being in California, like we used to sit at home in the 80s and 90s and watch the local broadcast to see if we had off the next day and if our number was called for our school for snow. Like, that's the way it should be. Like, can you imagine watching the Super Bowl? You won like if Joe Lisi won $1 million in free bets at the FanDuel Sportsbook, the amount of wagers he would make, and at the end of the month, Joe, what do you got left? Like 900,000? Put it all on my guy, backup tight end Noah Gray. Didn't work out.
Oh, to see just like an image, almost like a wanted poster of everybody's face, and for Joe Lisi to pop up, that would be so good. One name, of course, Joe Lisi, as it would be displayed for the nation to observe. We'll see what Peyton and Eli have to do with the Kick of Destiny. It would be a lot of fun. Let me just ask you this, Commissioner Right Side, star athlete Right Side. How far of a field goal do you think you could convert?
Nothing now. Like, I'm pulling hamstrings left and right. But back in the day, I used to toe on kick. Wasn't too bad, man. I was decent back in the day. Yeah.
Toe on kick, revolutionary style back in the day. Maybe Donnie can be the guy to
beats up your toes, man. You don't want to do that too much, man. Good. Really does.
All right, good to know. Good to know. 11 days away from the big game. This is what you get. Some conversations as we build up the prep and the excitement. Donnie, no change in the odds whatsoever from our discussion yesterday about where the line might move. We're in that lull this week until we get to New Orleans next week as we get closer to the game, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 1 week out from now. Still a 1.5 spread in favor of KC. Minus 124 on the money line, plus 106 on the other side for Philadelphia. Total the exact same at 49.5. Money line price did not move a cent. Juice on the under did not move either, still at minus 115. But now we play a game called What's More Likely, a match bet of numbers in bets that you can make. The odds are not always going to be the same, and thus you might see a shorter number, which, of course, the odds makers are telling you is the more likely outcome, has the better chance of actually cashing. But we are going to do it in our own way here. So, DRS, in terms of that total and in terms of the scoring output we see in Super Bowl 59, what is more likely? The game goes under 40.5 or the game goes over 59.5. Of course, the under of that alt market is plus 260, the over plus 330. A defensive struggle, Donnie, or a ton of points in New Orleans 11 days from now?
Yeah, the books are rope in the end. You see that graphic there with the price points there, the plus 330, because everybody will be like, wait a second, this game, both teams get 30? Absolutely. Ooh, and it's plus 330? I wonder why under 40.5 is only priced at a plus 260 price. So just reading the lines here, it's like nobody's going to vote for being the under, but you can see that. 21-17 final, 38 points, doesn't go all your direction. And you want to talk about the clean ride you have to get over 60 points in a Super Bowl with two teams but to compare on the biggest stage, where once you get into that fourth quarter, then you have a lead. You're trying to just bleed that clock out. For me, I actually would go with the cheaper price at plus 260 and take the under 40.5. Because what are we looking at, Ben? Missed field goal, fourth down conversion not working out, turnover in the red zone. You might be able to get under that number. 59.5,
for sure.
Miss a field goal, turnover. You have no shot at that.
Yeah, absolutely. I not only agree with the price being 70 cents shorter, but I also believe that is way more likely. 5 of the previous 6 Super Bowls have all stayed under the pregame number. These are 2 of 5 defenses around the NFL this year, allowing fewer than 20 points per game on average. If we saw 17-14 in a great game, or even 21-17, I wouldn't be overly shocked. Although I don't love the under of the regular game total, I think that's more likely than 38-35, like we saw 2 years ago out in Phoenix between the Chiefs and the Eagles. We continue. What's more likely next?
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Is it just a matter of his contract, his age? I mean, usually things like this get fixed pretty quickly, but this one is not fixed, and now it's just super uncomfortable.
The opportunity or the idea of getting another team involved adds more complication to the situation, and it doesn't seem like a resolution is anywhere in sight, but the more suspensions come in, the more it's clear that the saga is over, or his time there is over.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What?
How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
What's more likely, Super Bowl 59 edition? Either a Super Bowl special, a specific bet that you can make for the biggest game of each and every NFL season, or maybe an alternate price. Regardless of what the number is, we put them together in match bets to have a conversation about how Super Bowl 59 between KC and Philly might in fact play out. What is more likely, Donnie right side? Either team wins Super Bowl 59 by exactly 10 points, not 9, not 11, exactly 10, or the game goes to overtime. What is more likely, a 10-point win for KC or Philadelphia, or an additional 10 minutes in Super Bowl 59?
5 years ago, Ben, I would have said, give me either team to win by exactly 10 points because it makes sense. Because in the past, analytically, you weren't maybe so opportunistic, if we can use that word kindly. The reason I bring this up is overtime has a great chance because if you're down 8, if you're down 7, 30-30, 27-27, 24-24, you're down 3 points with 30 seconds left to go, you're not trying for a touchdown, you kick the field goal. The reason I bring up the 10 points is how many times do we see, Ben, where the analytical approach is, right, you're down 17 points with 5 minutes to go. You score the touchdown. Most people are like, yes, just kick the extra point and make it 10. But the analytics actually say you should go for 2 to make it 9 because the chances of you scoring the touchdown to make it 10, you kicking the field goal, then you scoring the touchdown, you still have to go to extras, and then you might not even get the football, and then you lose just by that sense because the other team scores a touchdown, you stop them in extras. You see what I'm getting? Or it doesn't go your way because the Super Bowl is actually a little bit different than the regular season in overtime. But for me, the analytics come in where I don't think you ever try to get it to 10 anymore. It's usually you always want to get it under 10 an opportunity. Now understand this. The game could end up 30-20 because that's just what the score is with 8 minutes to go in the fourth quarter and nobody scores the rest of the way. But I can see it happen like, ooh, I'm going to get this exactly at 10. Most people are probably like, why is he going for 2? Don't you just want to make it that 2-score game and not miss it? Now get an actual touchdown and a 2-point conversion? That's the only reason why. The new analytics would push me to say the game goes to overtime at 13-1, the way I would want to go.
This is Super Bowl 59. 58 previous Super Bowls in the history of the National Football League. Just 2 have gone to OT. But those 2 times in the last 8 years. Of course, the 28-3 comeback by the Patriots over the Falcons, and last season, Kansas City and San Francisco. What's more likely to me? The game goes to overtime at a 13-1 number. Again, our producer extraordinaire, Joe Frizo, finding all of this information. The last Super Bowl decided by exactly 10 points was way back in 1996. I believe that is Super Bowl 30. Donnie, to me, the more likely bet is a 13-1 number on this game to go to overtime. 10 is obviously a square number, a key number, a couple of possessions. You can make it very easy. Touchdown, field goal, as we see for any given football game. But I think overtime would be fun. I don't think it happens for a second consecutive year, but I think it is the more likely of those 2 scenarios in the match bets. And it allows us a moment, once again, to have what was the biggest hot-button conversation, perhaps, following Super Bowl 58 in KC's victory over San Francisco. One of the more defining moments, perhaps, of Kyle Shanahan's head coaching career in taking a little shine off Shanahan. Of course, a few years ago, the NFL made a change to its overtime rules in the postseason. Both teams get the football, and you can play if that possession starts within the 10 minutes, even into an untimed position. Yeah. Where, Donnie, of course, in regular season matchups, when if you score a touchdown, it's sudden death and the game is over, you want the football first. You want to score a touchdown. Leave no doubt. Send the other team packing before the offense even gets back on the field. But in the postseason formula of overtime, if both teams get the ball, well, then it would behoove a team to actually defer and play defense first. You have an understanding, even if your opposition scores, what you need. A field goal? Hey, we need to at least get a field goal to keep this game going. Or, hey, we'll be ultra aggressive to score that touchdown to beat them. There is that schematic side to the approach of watching what your opponent does first. It is something the 49ers failed to do last year in Super Bowl 58.
This is one of my favorite things because I have a personal touch, which I'll put on this in just a moment. But watching the game last year and then seeing the fallout where Shanahan didn't really relay the rules or what he wanted to do at San Francisco, so they weren't on the same page, coaching staff and players. But then when Kansas City scored the touchdown, when they scored, the player that scored wasn't sure that the game was actually over and how he should celebrate at that point, which is hilarious. But also, in college football, 1998 was the first year that we actually had overtime in college football for Division III. And our coach took the football. We ended up winning in overtime, but he took the football not understanding and thinking that if we scored first, which we did, we would have won in overtime, which isn't the case in college football. Now, see, we overcame that and won that, but there are times where even the coaching staffs that are supposed to be prepared have no idea what they're actually doing, even on the biggest stage. It's kind of crazy.
From the 25-yard line, like the same college football overtime rules that made its way down to D3, same thing?
Exactly.
See, that's the stuff that I think frustrates fans. And fans say, I sit here and watch football each and every week. Maybe I'm not NFL caliber in terms of my head coaching acumen. I don't know the X's and O's, but I understand time management, game management, and what the correct decisions are. It's very apparent that you would want to see what your opponent does to be able to answer. You have that opportunity. And Kyle Shanahan did not. And, of course, Donnie, with every single camera ever for NFL films in the stadium for a Super Bowl, all of the clips that came out in the 48 hours after of some guys being like, wait, what are the rules? They're new rules? Wait, what are we doing? I mean, as bad of a look as you could hope for in the most significant game of your career.
By the way, one of my favorite, you want another good story here about the Philadelphia Eagles?
Please.
Remember Donovan McNabb went to overtime against the Cincinnati Bengals, had no idea about the rules in regular season overtime, then went to the podium postgame and goes, oh, yeah? Well, what happens in the Super Bowl when it's a tie game? Like, oh, brother, don't you know they keep going because there has to be a winner in the Super Bowl? So, yes, athletes get confused in the biggest moments and say the dumbest things at the wrong times. It's just a human mentality. It's the NFL.
That just felt like a moment to slander Donovan McNabb. What are you going to do if you see him in the Big Easy?
Football in that. He had bad thumb. It was windy. We looked at the Eagles. Should have beaten him in McNabb.
One of the weirdest nicknames I've heard in fighting. There's people have some strange nicknames at times, but the Lemon Killer. What do you even make of that? What is that about?
I don't even know what that means, but I'm gonna squeeze him like a lemon on the day we fight, and he's gonna pop.
Only on SportsGrid.
Is this the team this year under TJ Otzelberger that can get Iowa State to the promised land at a Final Four trip?
Auburn is trending towards being the #1 seed in the South. That means first and second round games in Lexington, and then Sweet 16 and Elite 8 games in Atlanta. I have a hard time believing that a team is going to be able to go to Atlanta and beat the Tigers.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
What did you think of stopping for Wynn?
Well, tell me this. What side of the fence is Pharrell on here?
Well, he absolutely hated it. I didn't like it, but he was much stronger on the hated the fact that they stopped the golf tournament. I didn't love it either.
If the golf ball, when you're standing over it and you're having golf balls move, they're going to have to halt play.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
We'll see if they get McCain back. Kelly Oubre, Yabusele's been good. Caleb Martin's a defensive specialist. Andre Drummond can still give you, almost a double-double at any point. I can't go south on this team. And now you're giving it to me at 2-1 to make the playoffs? To be in the Final 8? Folks, give me the Philadelphia 76ers to make the playoffs at plus 210.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
What is more likely continues for Super Bowl 59. Now parlay match bets that we add up for both sides and decide between. Donnie, these are parlay prices to hit pay dirt, either once or multiple times for those guys on Philadelphia. For both of the Chiefs running backs to score, Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco, That's a plus 826 number. Or both Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts to score multiple rushing touchdowns. That's plus 3,432. You can tell that one is incredibly more likely based on the odds. But, Donnie, would you argue with the odds and take a shot on Saquon and Jalen to hit pay dirt each twice?
Yeah, usually you look at this prop and say, oh, you're out of your mind. Like Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco are probably going to, let's just say, split 50-50 carries inside the red zone, which gives you an opportunity to hit that and say, you know what, it's reasonable. It doesn't seem outlandish. But then you look at Barkley and Hurts and probably say to yourself, like, this is stupid. Almost 35-1. That's not going to happen. They go, like, wait a second. They scored 3 times just last week alone. Yeah. Why is this something so crazy where they can't each score 2? So for my money, just to try to up it and have fun, it's not so crazy. But again, the odds are what the odds are. They're not both priced at plus 825 or 826. There's a reason why one is 35-1 and the other was approximately 8-1 at that point. Let's say being a shrewd bettor, I'd probably go Hunt and Pacheco. But it's not such a crazy bet to look at that second one because any other team out there, that's a stupid, crazy bet to realize that they just went 3-3 the previous week. But also understanding this, if Barkley and Hurts each scored 2+ touchdowns in this game, just about $1 million on the Eagles winning by 14+ points. That would be insanity if they got that many touchdowns just on the ground against the Kansas City Chiefs. But for me, the ease of it, I'll probably just go Hunt and Pacheco because honestly, one of my favorite early touchdown scores in this game is probably Kareem Hunt, which was plus 140 early in the week, down to plus 130. Yeah. So if you're saying like there's no way Pacheco can score, stop. I probably would take the plus 826 here with the Chiefs number, though.
So that's the point as well, DRS. I actually could see that happening in some world. Not both running backs getting a 2-yard dive across the goal line, but maybe Isaiah Pacheco in the receiving game where he has started to factor more as Kareem Hunt is still kind of the lead back for that Kansas City backfield. Of course, what is more likely is the Chiefs duo to score. Why didn't you guys do just Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley? They're the only 2 players for Super Bowl 59 with a minus money price to hit pay dirt, minus 195 for Barkley, minus 115 for Hurts. It's a parlay of plus 198. It's not even all that juicy or all that exciting for Super Bowl Sunday. Donnie, I will say this, which is pretty fascinating. Anytime touchdown number for Kareem Hunt. Tied for the shortest number on Kansas City alongside Travis Kelce. As you alluded to, already 10 cents down at plus 130. Isaiah Pacheco just by himself to score a touchdown, plus 310. Saquon Barkley to score multiple touchdowns is plus 290. A shorter number for Saquon to score 2 than Isaiah Pacheco to score 1. A couple of years ago, when these two teams squared off for the first time in a Super Bowl, in Super Bowl 57 out in Glendale, Isaiah Pacheco was that revelation, the 7th-round draft pick, the rookie out of Rutgers, and he did score in Super Bowl 57 against Philadelphia. But now he's not really the lead back. What exactly did the injury that he suffered earlier in the year, a significant one to that ankle, what has it led him to here this season? He's back. He is playing. He is being productive. How exactly effective can he be? And thus, why you see that number on Isaiah Pacheco and the idea that Barkley and Hurts to each score twice is not all that crazy. Now, what's more likely? Again, Hunt and Pacheco. What would I rather sprinkle a small little bet on? I'd still probably look at the Eagles side of it.
Yeah, because you can probably look at it and say, like, honestly, if it's total, that's going to be close to 50. And you said, well, who scores for the Eagles? One for Hurts because you know they'll be on the goal line at some point, and one for Barkley because he hits a home run. So you're halfway home on that bet, and it's not crazy to think that Barkley hits another home run in that game, and where you get another tush-push opportunity where the Eagles have been known to say, okay, we're on the 3-yard line, tush-push, 2-yard line, tush-push, 1-yard line, touchdown with the tush-push here. So it's not crazy to think where it's like most at times you don't see that. And also earlier in the year, it's like, what, Barkley's lucky to even get a touchdown because Jalen Hurts steals them all or they're throwing him to A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, or Dallas Goedert. The ability now for Saquon's like, I'm just going to get a home run every single game. I don't care if I'm outside the 30-yard line. I'm still going to score. That's what brings us into, like, yes, he could do that at any time. And by the way, last time he was in New Orleans, home runs for Saquon Barkley. He did it as well.
Yeah. DRS, you know what really should have been this more likely match bet? The 2 running backs for KC at plus 826, or Will Shipley to hit pay dirt in Super Bowl 59 at 11-1. Mark Zinno joins us up next.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're gonna go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's gonna help me get the job done. There is not gonna be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Jimmy Butler has spread his cancer all over the Heat, and he has ruined their season. I do believe they'll never recover from this disastrous guy that is, purged on them. I mean, he's ruined. Like, they don't matter anymore at all. Like, I watched them play last night. They suck.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
They have a lot of hopes, and they thought last year they were turning the corner. Even early this year, they start turning the corner a little, and then you lose 13 games in a row.
Edmonton chipped away, got a late goal, won the game 4-3. I felt like they dominated the third period. They moved the puck on that power play. It was an exceptional hockey game. It went over the total.
Only on SportsGrid.
Mark Zinno's Football Focus, live on a Wednesday, a few days out from Conference Championship weekend in the NFL. And, of course, the countdown continues to track 11 days away from Super Bowl Sunday in the Big Easy. Zinno, as always, we appreciate the time, my friend. Glad to have you here on this Wednesday to have one final reaction to championship weekend and your early looks for Super Bowl 59.
Great to be with you guys as always. If there's anybody who I could find comfort and solace in, it's Ben Stevens and Donnie Rightside, as I'm still licking my nose from the AFC Championship game. And I'm going to say something right off the bat that's going to probably shock you both, and you might not believe it, but as a man of my word, I will stick to it. I am not watching the Super Bowl.
There you are.
No, I'm not.
There you are.
I already made plans with the kids. I have no desire to watch this game. I'm rooting for the vortex to open, the meteor strike, the sinkhole right through the bottom of the Superdome. Yeah, I have no desire.
Zinno, thanks for being here, man. Hope you have a great week. I guess we can't really use you for any Super Bowl predictions then.
Predictions, but not recap, I guess. Yeah, tough one.
This is my night.
But we're already done. If we're building up to Super Bowl 59, Zinno, you came to the wrong place because now it's about to get hot in that seat. Because here last week, you sat here for the AFC Championship, and you said the Buffalo Bills are winning this game. I do not care. The Buffalo Bills are winning this game. I guarantee it. Kansas City wins 32-29 as a slight home favorite against Buffalo for a fourth consecutive time in the last 5 years in NFL postseason matchups. So, Zinno, why were you wrong?
Well, I mean, the bottom line is the Bills had the ball with about 3.5 minutes left and a chance to go down the field, tie the game, win it. They didn't do it. That's ultimately what it boils down. The Bills didn't play their best game. That we knew. And for as great as Josh Allen is, he probably didn't play his best game, particularly early. I mean, look, that fourth down pass that he threw that fell incomplete to Dalton Kincaid, there's not another quarterback in the league who can make that throw. Not with that level of accuracy, under that kind of duress, moving to his right. I mean, off his back leg, just, an incredible play all around. I don't want to sit here and harp on the officials because you shouldn't leave it in their hands. But, what is interesting to me is outside of the fact that he got the first down, and this is the joke that the NFL has become when it comes to officiating, is simply that The replay assist should have come down when Dawson Knox dove and got the first down on third down. Before that fourth down tush push that failed didn't even work. It was clearly a first down. He clearly made the line to gain. Sean McDermott should have challenged it and didn't. But the league, the replay assist at that point in time has got to buzz down and go, that's a first down. Give it to him. And, of course, replay assist from the league is arbitrary. When does it get involved? When does it happen? I don't know the answer to that. Do you know the answer to that? Nobody knows the answer to that. But it didn't happen when it was supposed to because Dawson Knox got the first down. That fourth down tush push never should have been a thing, even though he got the first down on fourth down. So, don't leave it in the officials' hands, especially if you're the Bills playing the Chiefs. You can't leave it in the officials' hands.
Yeah, Buffalo had multiple chances, and I do agree with you there because even if it wasn't a first down and they went to a quick review, the football is at least a football and a half closer to the first down marker than it was. Quarterback sneak, then absolutely gets the first down. But I always have an issue with this too, Mark, because we're led to believe that on a quarterback sneak, the offense always gets the benefit of the doubt 9 times out of 10. And if you are close or if you just don't lose yards, they give you the needed advantage for the first down. The fact that that was overturned did stun me, but still, it didn't end the game at that point. Buffalo had the lead, looked like they would have got more points, and it came down to the end where Spagnuolo dialed up a blitz. But just get back to the Kansas City Chiefs here. All they do is win and win in close games. Is it going to come back and bite them in the Super Bowl? Because it doesn't feel like it ever comes in a one-score game. It seems like every time they play that, they automatically win it, Mark.
I mean, look, at this point, I've given into the void. Why? Now, I will tell you, in anger, on Sunday night, I went immediately and bet the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl because I was ticked off.
Now you're watching. Yep, now you're back. You're back.
So, I mean, I'm still not going to watch the game. I'll just check my account later on. But in anger, I did it, and I bet the Eagles, but it's going to be a loss because at this point in time, why would you keep betting against the Chiefs, right? Like, why keep banging your head against the wall? So I've given in. I don't know what else to say. I will say this much. And DRS, and I've said this for years, and this is really going to make Ben Stevens' head spin. You want me to solve all this tush push and fourth down malarkey that goes on with the officials? Here's a crazy idea. Get rid of the worst rule in the NFL, and that is forward progress. How about this? Where I knock your ass on the ground is where the ball goes, period. Let's end this whole conversation. Like, if I drop you back 4 yards, then you lost 4 yards. If we get rid of forward progress, this tush push and everything else is taken care of. Where I put your tail on the ground is where the ball goes. End of conversation. It's the dumbest rule and the most arbitrary rule. The only thing that is a worse call in the NFL than forward progress is the punt that goes out of bounds when you watch the official walk down the sideline having absolutely no clue where that ball crossed over. All I can think of is that Price is Right game going, do-de-do-de-do, do-de-do-de-do, as he's walking down the sideline, arbitrarily trying to figure out where the ball crossed over because he's got no clue.
By the way, real quick.
I mean, go ahead. Donnie, you want to take over. I'll hop out for a little bit.
Forward progress. Understand this. The running back up the middle for a 1 yard gain, they pick him up and sprint to the back of the end zone and spike him for a 2-point safety at that point.
Cool. Hi, here's an idea. You know what? They tell the same thing to every receiver. Just go down. If you just go down, no one's picking you up. Just go down.
But if you go down, then they just pick you back up, try to catch you. It would be like a receiver diving over the middle, gets caught by the safety and the cornerback, and they run with him sideways down the field. That would be something to watch.
Like a platter. Like a platter taking him back.
A waiter doing it, yeah.
So
there you go.
I don't even really.
Where do you go,
Mark? When you look at the Buffalo Bills, they have now lost to the Kansas City Chiefs 4 times in the last 5 postseasons. We see the head-to-head matchups and the playoff history between the two. You tried to get in front of this trend. The trend only grows stronger. 5 consecutive AFC East divisional crowns for Josh Allen and Buffalo. Just 2 conference championship appearances to show for it. Ousted in the divisional round 3 of those 5 years, and of course beaten by the Chiefs 4 times in this 5-year window. There is no doubt that Buffalo is a successful franchise, but they have not reached the Super Bowl now in more than 3 decades. We asked this yesterday, buy or sell. Josh Allen will never beat Patrick Mahomes in a playoff game. If I asked you the same question, Zinno, about taking that next step past Kansas City and actually to a Super Bowl, what would you say for the Bills?
going to happen. I mean, they said the same thing about Peyton Manning never being able to beat Tom Brady until he does. It's going to happen. I mean, it will happen at some point in time. You know, when either Andy Reid retires or Steve Spagnuolo gets hired to somebody else, or all the chips fall. You know, all the pieces fall together for Buffalo to host that game in the AFC Championship game. You know, where the Chiefs don't get lucky because they blocked a field goal attempt in the last minute, or because the stupid quarterback of the Ravens didn't know a snap was coming, or because, of any other myriad of gifts that they got throughout the regular season that gave them a 15-2 record. But that's neither here nor there. We can move on from that. I see you're getting very apoplectic about my response. Look, the Bills will get there. The problem is this, and I think the bigger question you need to ask is this. I think the Bills and the front office really need to have a serious conversation about, is Sean McDermott the right guy, right? Tony Dungy had a very successful run in Tampa. John Gruden comes in, wins a Super Bowl. John Fox had a very successful run in Denver. Gary Kubiak comes in, wins a title. Like, it's not that he's a bad coach, but you just can't keep running this back and expect different results. At some point in time, you've got to start to ask the question, maybe we just need a different voice in the room to get different results.
Yeah, it is difficult, right? But I do hear your point on Sean McDermott. 8 years in Buffalo, 7 playoff appearances, but never that biggest appearance in a Super Bowl. I don't think it's on McDermott, but in a game that is decided between the margins, that has been this close against Kansas City, you got to start to find those elevations somewhere. Maybe he'll like the NFC more. Mark Zinno joins us again next.
One of the weirdest nicknames I've heard in fighting. There's people have some strange nicknames at times, but the Lemon Killer. What do you even make of that? What is that about?
I don't even know what that means, but I'm gonna squeeze him like a lemon on the day we fight, and he's gonna pop.
Only on SportsGrid.
Is this the team this year under TJ Otzelberger that can get Iowa State to the promised land at a Final Four trip?
Auburn is trending towards being the number 1 seed in the South. That means first and second round games in Lexington, and then Sweet 16 and Elite 8 games in Atlanta. I have a hard time believing that a team is going to be able to go to Atlanta and beat the Tigers.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
What did you think of stopping him from winning?
Well, tell me this. What side of the fence is Pharrell on here?
Well, he absolutely hated it. I didn't like it, but he was much stronger on the hated the fact that they stopped the golf tournament. I didn't love it either.
If the golf ball, when you're standing over it and you're having golf balls move, they're going to have to halt play.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
We'll see if they get McCain back. Kelly Oubre, Yabusele's been good. Caleb Martin's a defensive specialist. Andre Drummond can still give you, almost a double-double at any point. I can't go south on this team. And now you're giving it to me at 2-1 to make the playoffs? To be in the Final 8? Folks, give me the Philadelphia 76ers to make the playoffs at plus 210.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
This should be fun. NFC Championship game rematch from Philadelphia this previous Sunday with Mark Zinno. He did not have nearly as heated of a take even entering championship week, and that Buffalo was no doubt going to win and finally knock the Kansas City Chiefs off their perch for the AFC Championship as he did for that NFC title game. But Zinno, it was a blowout led by the Birds in a great ground attack. 55-23, the victory for Philadelphia over the Commanders. The Eagles cover as a 6.5-point home favorite. A total of 46.5 skies over. Zinno, what is your lasting takeaway from what we saw in Philly on Sunday?
I know so much focus is on the offense and so much focus is on Saquon Barkley, and it's all well-deserved. But, man, that Philadelphia defense, if there's anybody who could take Kansas City's lunch money, it's those guys. That's really what it boils down to. They are great up front. They're very good in the secondary. They're well coordinated by Vic Fangio. I mean, this outside of, I guess, the Broncos kind of deal, of that level of defense that they face, this is probably the best defense the Chiefs have faced all year long. I mean, it really is. When you talk about it from a talent perspective and just a scheme perspective, these guys are really, really good up front. So it should provide somewhat of a challenge for Andy Reid and company. I mean, this is a much better defense than 2 years ago when these two teams met. That's for darn sure, right? And a lot of these guys were in that game 2 years ago, so they certainly remember it here. But, the other thing that we'll continue to talk about here is, how do you stop Saquon Barkley? The Chiefs have been very good at stopping the run all year long, but Saquon, once again, is everything you could have asked for and more. And when you look at what he has done for this offense and how much he makes everybody better, when you talk about a team being one player away, the Eagles were certainly one Saquon Barkley away, and that's been the difference maker for them.
Yeah, they were really good on Sunday. Never did I think they would score 55 points in an easy blowout victory. You're always sitting there saying it's probably going to come down to the fourth quarter. That's the way it typically does in AFC and NFC championship games. But the one thing I think you're right about, Mark, is the ability to possibly turn Kansas City into a one-trick pony, which is Patrick Mahomes, which is a great pony to have, no doubt about it. But you saw Sunday, Brian Robinson, 11 carries, 36 yards, 3.3 yards per carry. Austin Eckler, 8 carries, 15 yards, 1.9 yards per carry. If you keep Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco in the mix of 3.5 yards per carry, this is going to be fun to play out, because the one thing the Philadelphia Eagles have ramped up, and they had a very good defense 2 years ago when they faced them in Arizona, but now you have the best secondary in football, and it's not even close, and you don't have the Tyreek Hill type of ability to beat that over the top. Now, you did see Zach Ertz, 11 catches, 104. Kelsey is going to get his, but I'm interested to see the matchups that the Philadelphia Eagles sort of put forward. But if we do put a cap on this game, your outlook, Mark, for the Washington Commanders and their superstar quarterback, Jade Daniels, now that we know his offensive coordinator is coming back, what's the future for you for the Commanders, including next year?
Well, I mean, it's obviously very high. It's a very high ceiling. But Dan Quinn has a lot of work to do on that defense, particularly in the secondary. They're not good. And they need to get better, and they need to get better players in the secondary fast. Marshawn Lattimore was not all as advertised when they got him. Granted, he was hurt a lot, but certainly was an impact player when he wasn't there. So they've got to figure out a way to fix that secondary and make this team more well-balanced. And the fact that you have Jaden Daniels on a rookie contract, you're not spending a lot of money in the quarterback position, means now is the time to go out and try to make the biggest splash you can and get players either via trade or via free agency that are going to make this secondary and this defense worthy of it. Because at the end of the day, look what you're chasing now in Philadelphia. A dynamic running back that's nearly unstoppable, 2 threats on the outside, and a quarterback who can run and run you over. You better be able to shut down the outside and force Jalen Hurts to be one-dimensional and be able to keep Saquon Barkley bottled up. So that's what you're chasing right now if you're Washington, and you got to get a defense. Jaden Daniels can be as great as he wants, but at the end of the day, again, go back to the game this year that they won in Washington. Even though Jalen Hurts was not in the game, Philadelphia still put up 33 with a backup quarterback. You can't have that be the case if you're trying to catch the Eagles and win that division.
It was Jaden Daniels' magic in that Week 16 regular season matchup, overcoming 2 interceptions for him, 5 turnovers in total as a team, to throw 5 touchdown passes and another clutch touchdown as time expired. It was the story of the season for Jaden Daniels, the number 2 overall pick this past year, who already has his name engraved on the Offensive Rookie of the Year trophy in the National Football League. Mark Zinno, in a past life, a couple of months ago, you were known as the mouth in the South with all of your SEC picks. Of course, Jaden Daniels won a Heisman Trophy in the 2023 college football season at LSU. 2nd overall pick. It's not like he's some underdog story out of nowhere. But were you surprised by the level of production that Jaden Daniels had right away to begin his NFL career?
Not really surprised. I mean, look, I always thought he was an incredible talent. I was more surprised, I think, that, Cliff Kingsbury was able to devise an offense, and I think that's really where the credit should go. I don't think we're actually giving him enough credit for putting together an offense that allowed a young quarterback to keep his legs under him both physically and figuratively, literally and figuratively, throughout the entire season. Make him very good early. Like, I don't know. I remember pointing this out. Through the first 5 or 6 weeks of the season, Jaden Daniels was bottom 3 in the NFL in average depth of target. Everything was a short pass underneath. Everything was simple. Everything was easy. And they did a great job at bringing him along and slowly letting his game develop into what he was comfortable with after building some confidence. I mean, they handled him exactly the right way. And again, 3,500 passing yards is nothing anybody gets excited about anymore in the NFL. But the idea that his completion percentage in his first year was near 70%, as you're seeing right up there, and he's able to produce that many touchdowns, yeah, that's a really good coaching job. And that's not taking anything away from Daniels here, Ben. It's just the fact that, there's a lot of quarterbacks who have had Jaden Daniels' talent, but it wasn't the right fit for coaching and scheme and everything else. And they didn't try to put a square peg in the round hole. They let the kid grow and develop, and now he's got all the confidence in the world as he should.
The situation in Landover was sensational for Jaden Daniels, first-year head coach there in Washington, in Dan Quinn, and Cliff Kingsbury in his return to the NFL. They'll have that congruency. They'll have that consistency season over season entering 2025. I'm fascinated to see what the updated win total is going to be for Washington entering next year in the NFL. 6.5 this season, nearly doubled it up. What is it going to be entering 2025? Zinno, do you want to stay for the next segment to talk about Super Bowl 50? Yes. Okay, you do want to talk about Super Bowl 50. He's not going to watch it, but you'll talk about it. All right, Mark Zinno next.
One of the weirdest nicknames I've heard in fighting. There's people have some strange nicknames at times, but the Lemon Killer. What do you even make of that? What is that about?
I don't even know what that means, but I'm gonna squeeze him like a lemon on the day we fight, and he's gonna pop.
Only on SportsGrid.
Is this the team this year under TJ Otzelberger that can get Iowa State to the promised land at a Final Four trip?
Auburn is trending towards being the #1 seed in the South. That means first and second round games in Lexington, and then Sweet 16 and Elite 8 games in Atlanta. I have a hard time believing that a team is going to be able to go to Atlanta and beat the Tigers.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
What did you think of stopping him from winning?
Well, tell me this. What side of the fence is Pharrell on here?
Well, he absolutely hated it. I didn't like it, but he was much stronger on the hated the fact that they stopped the golf tournament. I didn't love it either.
If the golf ball, when you're standing over it and you're having golf balls move, they're going to have to halt play.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
We'll see if they get McCain back. Kelly Oubre, Yabusele's been good. Caleb Martin's a defensive specialist. Andre Drummond can still give you, almost a double-double at any point. I can't go south on this team. And now you're giving it to me at 2-1 to make the playoffs? To be in the Final 8? Folks, give me the Philadelphia 76ers to make the playoffs at plus 210.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
A wise man once told me, just because you don't watch a game doesn't mean you can't bet on said game, even if it's the biggest freaking game each and every year in sports around the globe internationally. That would be Super Bowl 59, now 11 days away in New Orleans. Mark Zinno has already made his declaration. He's not going to watch this. Doesn't need to see the Chiefs and the Eagles play again in a Super Bowl. Kansas City has hurt his soul. But Zinno, from the numbers perspective, the Chiefs a slight favorite, minus 124 on the money line. total 49.5. We'll get to all of your bets for Super Bowl 59, despite the fact you will not see them cash or miss when it comes to the spread, money line, total. Just for how the game is going to be decided, what is your bet there?
Well, again, I mean, look, I played the Eagles on the money line, even though it was probably an emotional bet more than anything else on Sunday night, just because I was ticked off and I saw plus money, and I'm like, screw it, I'm going to bet the Eagles because I just can't stand to see the Chiefs win another football game. Again, I don't think the Eagles are immune from losing this game by any stretch of the imagination. But, again, you have to play a perfect game against Kansas City. They may be able to be the team that can just do it. I would also look at an Eagles team total over. I think you're good. If you're sitting at the Eagles can get to 27 here. I think the overplays. I think the Eagles team total overplays. I mean, the Chiefs defense is good. Do we expect them to keep the Eagles to 23 points? Like that would be a defensive performance for the ages if they're doing that. I just don't see that number developing here for Philadelphia, nor do I see the pace of the game going that way. So have we seen the Chiefs score less than 24 points in a game? Oh, yeah, pretty much every game this year except for the AFC Championship game. Go figure. Anyway, but nonetheless, so I would take the Eagles team total over when you talk about size and totals.
When you take a look at the side itself, obviously the Eagles is a slight underdog in this game. 2 years ago, they were a slight favorite taking on Kansas City. Game is on a clean track in New Orleans, in a dome, on AstroTurf. When you're looking at this game optimistically, is there any revenge factor that you play into it? Same coaches, same quarterbacks, a lot of the same players. Obviously, we know there are sort of transplants here with Saquon Barkley playing. But how does that enter into your handicap where these two teams just saw each other 2 years ago and there might be a revenge factor?
Oh, I mean, you have to believe that, the Eagles have taken it personally. Like Jalen Hurts, if you look at his post-game press conference after the NFC Championship game, that was not a guy who was celebrating. That wasn't a guy who had felt like he had won or accomplished anything at this point in time. And I actually appreciated that whole, mantra because conversely, Dan Quinn talked about after the NFC Championship game, hey, we came up one game short. No, Dan, you came up 2 games short because you need to win the Super Bowl, not just get there. And so I appreciated Jalen Hurts' attitude towards the whole thing, and I think that plays itself out. I think all these Eagles players really have revenge on the mind here, believing that they should have, and had Jalen Hurts not fumbled, could have won that first Super Bowl.
Super Bowl 57, the Chiefs were a 2.5-point underdog. Kansas City won outright. They have made it 2 straight Lombardi trophies, hoping to make more NFL history and win 3 consecutive Super Bowl championships. No team around the NFL has ever done that. Zinno, you have talked about how great the defenses are on both sides. Philadelphia, of course, the NFL's best defense all season long. But so much star power for both teams. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Xavier Worthy, the most prolific playoff connection ever, that being Kelce and Mahomes. You also look at what you have for Philadelphia. Saquon Barkley, big run after big run, and Jalen Hurts with an additional week of rest should be even healthier come Super Bowl 59. From the prop perspective, who are a couple of players? What are a couple of numbers you have already had your eye on?
Best bet prop for me, Xavier Worthy over 5.5 rushing yards. We've seen him in 8 of the last 9 games, not including the regular season finale where nobody played, get at least 1 carry. In 4 of the last 5, he's gotten at least 2 carries. He's used as a jet sweep candidate repeatedly over the last couple of games as he works his way in. I love that. Dallas Goedert's going to go over his receiving yards. The Chiefs are terrible at defending tight ends. And believe it or not, I would more likely target Noah Gray as the tight end because Vic Fangio will turn around and go, I'm not letting 87 beat me. So what will Andy Reid do? Okay, 87, you go run around. We'll get that other guy that nobody knows about and forgets that he's in on the team until he catches the ball. But I would look at Noah Gray's direction and Patrick Mahomes to throw an INT. Threw one last week. If you bottle up the run game and force Mahomes to throw, a pick is coming. Why? Because he threw 15 of them this year. So it's not a surprise that he would throw one in this game. And by the way,
we shall see.
Barkley got the MVP vote for me. A little shekel down on him to win the Super Bowl MVP because, why not?
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, enjoy rock climbing next weekend. We'll be watching football. Mark Zinno, thanks so much for your time. Hour 3 up next.